Hey guys, and welcome back into the continuation of my scary movie franchise reviews. We are now on to Halloween 2, the direct sequel to the classic Halloween 1. If you did not see my review of Halloween 1 from 1978, feel free to go back and check it out on the channel. But today we're going to be focusing on Halloween 2, again, the direct sequel to that film. The film came out in 1981. The film had a $2.5 million budget, which may not seem like a ton compared to nowadays, but you think back to that original film just 3 years prior, they had a $300,000 budget, and it's like, goddamn, that's a huge increase. You looked at the 1978 film, and that budget was directly, that budget was directly designed for them to fail if you think about it. With that low of a budget. But this film had seemingly everything going for it, had every reason to be a great success. Now, was it? We're going to get into the film, talking about a couple things. For one, this film is directed by Rick Rosenthal rather than from John Carpenter, who turned down the opportunity to direct this film, and that's why Rick Rosenthal was given that opportunity. Michael Myers is no longer played by Nick Castle, who, if you saw my Halloween 1978 review, you know I really enjoyed him as Michael Myers. It's now performed by Dick Warlock, who I'll get into later. I don't think does a horrible job. It certainly is no Nick Castle. This is a film where I love the intro. It shows you the final, 5 minutes of Halloween 1, which obviously was a great 5 minutes. It gives you, it kind of re-engages you with how the story ended previously. Thought that was really good. It does point out one thing that it's like, holy shit, I don't really understand how I didn't think of this. Watching Halloween 1, I've watched Halloween 1 probably 30 to 40 times, and I've never really considered this. The fact that in Halloween 2, it shows you the end of Halloween 1, and when Halloween 1 ends, you got Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasant, shooting Michael Myers 6 times. Michael Myers falls off the balcony, whatever. He looks over, Michael's gone. In Halloween 2, you got the one neighbor that comes out and is like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what is this noise? And I never considered that, wait a minute. Yeah, they're in the middle of a fucking neighborhood, surrounded by houses on it, seemingly every side, and only one fucking neighbor comes out. I think about if I was out in my front, if I'm sleeping on any given night or in my house or whatever the case may be, and I hear gunshots, let alone 6 gunshots, you bet your ass I'm either at the window staring outside, or most likely someone is coming, including me, is coming outside to see what the fuck is going on. That doesn't happen here. Only one guy comes out. The other people are just like, fuck it, we're going to stay in bed. We don't care if people are getting shot, whatever. That's a little, you have to kind of suspend your disbelief. But outside of that, it was a really good intro. I loved how it tied the end of Halloween 1 into the beginning. I enjoyed it. Then you get the score as Dr. Loomis runs away. And the score is still good, still better than 95% of scores in other Halloween or other, scary movies in general. But this score is not quite as good in my opinion. Still really good, but not quite as good. The only real difference is they made it more digital sounding. They really kind of digitized it. And I think it's just to try to give it a new little flavor, make it a little different. And again, it's good, just not as good. I liked what we had before. In terms of this movie, we're going to get into some pros and some cons, just kind of similar as we did in Halloween 1. But the opposite here is there's going to be a few more cons. Getting right into the cons, though, for Halloween 2, start out with the setting, the hospital setting. A good 60% of this film takes place in that hospital, which I guess depending on what setting they pick in a given movie, I could maybe be okay with it, but I don't think I'm going to ever be the type of guy who loves one particular setting for a majority of the movie. The fact that so much of this movie takes place in one specific area, I don't really like it, let alone the fact that it's a hospital where I'm a fucking huge, I hate hospitals. I'm a huge hater of hospitals in general. I think the fact that, the hospital's nearly empty is bizarre. Like, where the fuck, I know it's supposed to be nighttime and dark, but it doesn't matter. The hospital is the one setting where it shouldn't matter if it's late during the day. If you go to a hospital at 1 a.m, there's still people everywhere. So I thought this was bizarre, kind of unrealistic. And again, I don't like the hospital setting. Much preferred the setting of Halloween 1. Then we have another really, really big negative. And I think this is going to be a controversial statement because I think people either really like this element or they agree with me and they don't like it. I feel like most people are not just kind of in the middle on it. They either love it or hate it. And that's the whole brother-sister element that is thrown into Halloween 2. It's almost like, Halloween 1, Michael came across as this motiveless, just embodiment of evil. You don't really know why he's doing what he's doing. And I think that works so well. Not understanding why he did it, I think made him more scary. And in Halloween 2, they throw in this brother-sister element where they try to make you aware of the fact that the reason Michael Myers is targeting Laurie Strode now for the second straight time is because it's his sister. That Laurie Strode was put up for adoption a couple years after, Michael went away for killing his sister, his older sister. So it's almost like Michael killed his original sister. Now he's got to finish the job by killing his younger sister. In a way, it's like, okay, you could appreciate the fact that they're trying to give us something. And maybe if they'd done it a little better, I could have accepted it. But it's just not a good, they don't do it well. It's lazily thrown into the movie. It's poorly written. And the biggest thing I have a problem with is you never get Laurie's reaction to the news. There was, and not just in this movie, forever, in the history of the Halloween franchise, you never get Laurie's reaction to the fact that, oh, Michael Myers is my fucking brother. She never, because you think about it, she's in Halloween 1, she doesn't know. She's in Halloween 2, she never finds out. We do, Dr. Loomis does, but we never do. She's not in 3, not in 4, not in 5, not in 6. She comes back in H2O, and when she comes back in H2O, she just knows that Michael's her brother. So we never get that moment. And I feel like if you're going to tie such a huge part of this entire franchise, the history of this entire franchise, around this brother-sister element, at some point in time, we got to get the realization from her that that's what's happened. And we don't get it here. Another point, another way to show how poorly written this is the fact that if you took the scene where Dr. Loomer, guys, if you took this scene where Dr. Loomis finds out from that nurse, Marion Chambers is I think her name. If you go to that scene and you take that out where she tells him, the news that the reason he's going after is because they're related. If you take that out, this movie is no fucking different. It doesn't change the movie at all whatsoever. And that's poorly written. That's poor writing. Everything should have a point to it. Particularly when you're making this, the biggest groundbreaking news of the entire movie, and it makes no difference. Laurie does not find out, and I still can't believe that you got a guy like John Carpenter who's so fucking good at his job. You saw in that original film how good he was at his job. But I don't know if it was writer's block or what, but this was just poorly thrown into the movie, lazy as hell. Don't enjoy it, and I'll never enjoy it throughout the history of the franchise. I think the brother-sister element is one of my biggest red flags throughout the entire history of this franchise. Another negative to this movie is the fact that Laurie Strode is, she's on the front of the movie. Her name's right on the top. She's the star of the movie. Obviously, her and Dr. Loomis coming back from Halloween 1. A lot of people, outside of Michael Myers, Laurie Strode and Dr. Loomis is what people are coming to see. And she's barely in the movie. Until you get to the third act, the final 20-25 minutes, the big showdown between Michael and Laurie, she's irrelevant. She's strung to this hospital bed for the first hour and 5 of the movie. And, Dr. Loomis is in the movie a decent amount, not in the hospital, but he's digging around. He's making a point of trying to get everyone to understand the sheriffs and other detectives and whatnot. He's trying to really rally everyone around the fact that they got to stop Michael, that he's not human, they got to contain the evil. And that's fine and all, but the other 60% of the movie that's spent at the hospital, you're spent with these, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe them, like Friday the 13th type characters that are really shallow characters with you have no real investment in any of these characters. They're just kind of thrown in to be killed, cannon fodder, if you will. And, you get very little Laurie Strode. I honestly, the first hour and 5 minutes, you get less of her than about 5 or 6 of these random characters. Jimmy, Bud, Jill, that fucking, I can't think of her name, Alves, whatever her name is, the one nurse. You get more lines from them than you do from your star character, and I don't think that's good for the film. Again, because we don't care about these characters. They're simply there to get killed by Michael Myers in the next 25 minutes. Maybe some people like it. The characters aren't horrible. Like, Bud's pretty funny. He sings his different version of Amazing Grace, which is funny. Jimmy I find to be endearing. I like him to a degree, but at the end of the day, we're not there to watch those guys. So I don't enjoy the fact that your star of the movie is barely used for 2/3 of it. Don't think that's smart. I don't think that's good writing. Then, this movie's got some awful cliches. One in particular is the fact that at the end of the movie, when Laurie's trying to get away, her and Jimmy are in the car. She goes to start the car that's just seemingly been sitting out there, and it doesn't start. It's like, really? Like, come on. Like, early in the movie when all the tires were slashed, that I didn't have a problem with because Michael could seemingly go around and slash all those tires. And they make a point of showing you, like, he had slashed multiple tires throughout the parking lot. But the car just randomly not starting. Unless they want to show us that, like, Michael fucking got under the hood of the car and ripped the fucking wires out, and that's why it's not starting. If that's not the case, and the car's just randomly not starting, it's like, that's so fucking 80s cliche, so fucking ridiculous. And 1978's Halloween was above that kind of stuff. And this film kind of, I think, drops down to that level. And I don't enjoy that. I think, I just roll my eyes, and I think 80% of people watching this film are going to roll their eyes at that scene when the car doesn't start. Just stupid. Another thing I don't like about this movie is I don't like the ending. You got Michael, Laurie, and Loomis. You get the big three that people are paying to see in this, like, back room. It's like a furnace room. I don't know what the fuck it is. But Michael just looks ridiculous in this scene with him going around the room. Obviously, he gets shot in the eye so he can't see. But the way he swings his little knife, I don't think Dick Warlock does a very good job in this scene. I almost think it comes across as comical, the way he looks and the way he's swinging the little, I don't even think it's a knife. I don't know what the fuck he's got, like scalpel. But it looks stupid. I think it's comical, and I don't think it's done well there by Dick Warlock. And plus, you throw in the fact that the ending ends up being pointless. They have Michael. Michael's bad enough. Michael's killed about 1,000 times in this series and always lives, so I can kind of live with that one. But the fact that Dr. Loomis blows himself up in that back room and then shows up in Halloween 4, I've never liked that. If they were going to bring him back, they should have found a different way. I don't like the fact that this ending is essentially pointless because Dr. Loomis, there's no way Dr. Loomis should have survived that. There's no way he could have survived that, but yet he does. So the fact that I watch Halloween 2's ending and I have a hard time forgetting the fact that he's going to show up in later films, I just don't enjoy the ending. One last thing, the one last negative I have about this movie is the fact that Dick Warlock's portrayal of Michael is way too fucking robotic. Just ridiculously robotic. You got the one scene when Michael's about to come in through the hospital doors. He walks through and he just completely walks right through the glass. And I don't know if you remember that scene or if you've recently watched this film, but if you have and you don't remember, go back and watch it. Tell me he does not look like Frankenstein during that scene. Like, he really, really does. And I think with him looking and coming across as so robotic, it definitely loses the charm of Halloween 1 when you weren't sure if Michael was human or if he was supernatural, and you couldn't really tell which way the scale tipped. In this one, he definitely loses a good percentage of that human element, and I think in large part it is due to the fact that he is so robotic and so zombie-like. Don't really enjoy that. Now to some pros, which there is a lot less of them than there is cons, but we'll get to some pros about this movie. As I said before, I do really like that it's almost one big movie, that it really is linked to that first film, and you could watch it just in one big giant session. I like that. Again, in this movie, I enjoy Dr. Loomis. Like I said, Laurie Strode is relatively useless in the first hour plus of this movie. Dr. Loomis is pretty good throughout. I still enjoy him more in Halloween 1. I think he has more memorable lines. He's more iconic in that original film, as everything else is as well. But he's still good in this film. He's still got some good lines. He's trying to rally everyone against Michael. That's really his point throughout the film. He's going a little more crazy in this film, getting a little more desperate. Ultimately, his actions result in the death of Ben Tramer at one point. I think Loomis is good in this film, but just not as good. Definitely doesn't have as many iconic lines. But he still does a really good job with what he's given. He's just not given as much to work with. This film definitely has better kills, which I'll get to. It's definitely a film where they go for a little more gore. There's still some kills that I think suck absolute ass, but they definitely show some more with the kills. It gets a little more graphic, again, a little more 80s, a little more in the terms of Friday the 13th style kills. In terms of the kills you get in this film that were pretty good, you get the Bernard Garrett, the security guard who goes out into the back room and he gets the hammer smashed through his head. That's a pretty good kill. You get one of the better kills in the first few films. Probably my favorite kill, outside of maybe the Bob kill in Halloween 1. You get the Karen Bailey kill, the nurse that's trying to have sex with Bud in the the hot tub, and holy shit, they do a good job of showing her, if you know what I'm talking about. But she's like sitting in the little hot tub, which is like up to like 110 degrees because Michael's been in the back fucking with the thermometer. But she's like getting a massage from behind, and she thinks it's from, the guy she's about to hook up with. But in actuality, it's Michael. And he ultimately sticks her head into the water, which is like now at 130 degrees. And like he puts her head in, pulls it out, puts her head in, pulls it out. And each time he pulls her head out, her head's getting more like mangled and like you can see the water starting to have an effect on her skin because it's starting to like boil. And by the end, her face is like just completely fucked up. And I thought that was a really good kill. I've always thought, though, it's a little bizarre that, and it's another thing that shows like Michael's not human. The fact that he's sticking her head in the boiling hot water that's fucking her entire face up, but yet his hand is perfectly fine. Don't ask me how that's possible. I guess the only thing is that, Michael's not human, which has now been completely 100% established in Halloween 2. Another thing I like about this film is the camera shots. The camera shots in this film are a lot better done. Or not a lot better done. What the fuck am I talking about? That was a stupid thing to say. The camera shots are very similar to Halloween 1. I think that it's a pro to the film in terms of the fact that they take a similar approach to the camera shots. You still got a bunch of scenes where Michael's hiding in the shadows. You really feel like he could pop out at any moment. A lot of the same tricks as Halloween 1. And I think that's in a large part due to the fact that John Carpenter is still involved in this film. Again, he's not the director of this film, but I think he did have a lot of say in the scenes, in some of the little tricks that they thrown into this film. There's the one scene where the one nurse goes into the back room looking for the doctor, and the doctor's sitting in the chair, and he's not responding to her. Eventually, she turns him around in the chair. He's got the syringe through his eyes. She freaks out, starts to back up. Ultimately, and like behind her is just darkness. And ultimately, as she's moving backwards, his face just slowly peeps into sight. She backs into him. He sticks the syringe into her head. That's a really good segment. And again, it's very similar to the camera shot in Halloween 1 when Laurie's backing into the closet and his mask appears. So again, a lot of good camera shots, very similar with the way they do it in Halloween 2 as to Halloween 1. And all in all, that's pretty much it for the pros, guys. So as you can see, there was a lot more cons than there was pros. Halloween 1, I gave a 9.5 out of 10. Halloween 2, I think I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. So still a good movie. Still, definitely rewatchable. I suggest if you don't, or if you never tried it, try watching those movies back to back. Maybe next Halloween when you decide, I got to watch Halloween 1. Try throwing in Halloween 2 directly after and see how you enjoy it. I find Halloween 2 to be better if you do watch them in succession. All in all, though, again, 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a really good film. Definitely not as bad as some of the ones that are going to follow after this one, but just not as iconic as Halloween 1. And the fact that they directly tie it to Halloween 1 with that intro, I feel like you have to compare them. And I just don't think it's nearly as well done. The cliches that they throw into this film definitely stick out like sore thumbs. But a 7.5 out of 10 is definitely a good review, just not nearly as good as the 9.5 that the original film was. So thanks for checking in, guys. I'll be back for my Halloween 3 review in the next few days. I definitely need a few days off here before I get to that one. We're going to do Friday the 13th, Child's Play, Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream. We're going to do all those other franchises as well, but maybe we'll throw a review of one of those films in before Halloween 3. I haven't decided yet, but we'll definitely be back for another horror review relatively shortly. If you guys didn't see my Halloween run review, go check it out. And if you did, thanks. I appreciate it very much. Like, comment, and subscribe. Do you agree with my rating of the film? Do you think it's as good as Halloween 1, which I doubt? Or do you think it's worse than 7.5 out of 10? Do you agree that it is a 7.5 out of 10? Just let me know what you guys think, and I'll be back shortly for another review, guys. Thanks, I'm out.